My name is Melania. I live in Queens, New York, a place where dreams are as common as the honking taxis and street vendors selling hot dogs. By day, I'm a nurse working in the ER at St. John's Hospital. It's a job that's both exhausting and rewarding, one that I thought defined who I was. But this story isn't about my job or my dreams. It's about how everything I thought I knew about myself and life changed forever. I'm 34, the youngest of 3 siblings. My parents live upstate in a small town where life is simple, but they always dreamed of more for us. My older brothers, Nathan and Ben, are the overachievers of the family. One's a lawyer, the other an architect. Me, I took a different path. I've always been drawn to helping people, even when it wasn't easy. But beneath the surface, I had my own struggles. Private ones I thought I had under control. I worked hard, cared for others, and kept my faith, at least on the outside. Inside, I felt trapped, caught in a cycle I couldn't seem to break. I never imagined how much my secret would cost me until the night my world came crashing down. That's where this story really begins, on the edge of life and death, in the moment I met him. That night felt different. The weight I'd been carrying seemed unbearable, like it was pressing on my chest. I tried to distract myself, but the guilt and shame wouldn't let me go. I kept hearing the same question in my mind. How long will you keep hiding? I needed to clear my head, to escape the noise in my mind. But as I stepped into the street, I didn't see the car coming. In those moments, I felt myself slipping away. It was like falling into a deep, dark ocean, the world above growing more distant. I heard the faint hum of voices, but they felt miles away. But then, something incredible happened. The darkness faded, replaced by a light so brilliant, so warm, it seemed to wrap around me. I wasn't afraid anymore. I felt safe. I thought I had died. I thought this was the end. But as the figure came closer, I realized it wasn't over. It was just the beginning. Then I saw Jesus. He walked toward me, his presence radiating peace and authority. His face was gentle, yet there was a depth in his eyes that pierced through me. His hair flowed like it carried the warmth of the sun. His robe was dazzling white, glowing as though it held the light itself. I couldn't move. My legs felt like they were rooted to the ground. His gaze met mine, and I felt exposed. It was as though he saw everything. Every thought, every failure, every hidden part of me. Yet, there was no condemnation in his eyes. Only love. His voice echoed within me. It wasn't loud, but it carried power. Every word felt alive, sinking into my soul. He spoke of forgiveness and truth. He spoke of chains I had refused to acknowledge, chains I had clung to in my struggle. Then he said something that broke me. He spoke of a purpose I didn't think I could fulfill. He said my life had meaning beyond the shame I carried. I couldn't respond. I just stood there, tears streaming down my face, unable to grasp the fullness of his words. The light around him began to intensify. Suddenly, I felt myself being drawn away, as though pulled into another place. Everything changed in an instant. I didn't know what I was about to see, but my heart trembled as the vision unfolded. The radiant light around me dimmed. The air grew heavy, oppressive. I found myself in a desolate realm. It wasn't pitch black, but the dim glow revealed countless figures trapped in torment. They were bound by invisible chains, heads bowed in despair, their faces hollow and lifeless. Silent cries echoed in my soul, piercing my heart. I knew at that moment, this was the reality of pornography. It wasn't just entertainment. It wasn't harmless. It was a prison. I saw its roots, vile and tangled, spreading like black veins, choking everything in its path. It corrupted minds, hardened hearts, and destroyed souls. Jesus' presence enveloped me, his holiness unmistakable. He revealed the truth with piercing clarity. Pornography brings addiction and sexual immorality, he said. It doesn't stop there. It damages you psychologically. You felt it, Melania. The self-loathing, the depression, the inability to break free. This is the weight of the stronghold. Satan has taken root in your life, and he won't let go easily. That's why you've wanted to stop but felt powerless to do so. The heaviness of his words broke me. Tears streamed down my face as I realized the full depth of my bondage. I saw a young man sitting in a dimly lit room. Tears streaked his face as he poured out his heart to a pastor. He confessed that every time he tried to pray, images of pornography bombarded his mind. The shame overwhelmed him, and he stopped praying altogether. His words revealed a tragic truth. Pornography had built a wall between him and Jesus. It severed his relationship with the divine, isolating him in guilt and despair. Jesus' voice broke through the vision. "Melania," he said, "pornography doesn't stand alone. It introduces other strongholds. Lust grows from its roots, taking hold of your mind and heart. Lust leads to fornication, and fornication becomes adultery in marriage. These chains bind tighter with each sin, destroying everything in their path." His words brought memories to the surface. Times when I acted irrationally, when my judgment was clouded, when shame burned deep within me. "Lust gives birth to foolishness," he continued. "It clouds your decisions, destroys homes, breaks health, and robs joy. Worst of all, it creates a wall between you and me." The scene shifted again. This time, I saw a man walking away from his wife and 2 children. His heart was torn, but his steps were resolute. He had fallen into an affair with a younger woman, driven by lust that consumed him. He never intended to abandon his family, but the stronghold had grown too deep, and he couldn't find his way out. I felt the devastation ripple through the family. A broken wife, confused children, a man drowning in regret, but too far gone to turn back. Jesus spoke again, his voice firm yet tender. "Lust blinds reason, Melania. It destroys homes, health, joy, and even your relationship with me. It starts with your eyes, storing up images in your heart, feeding them to your mind. It's a sin against your body and your soul. Lust is like a drug, enslaving you until it consumes everything." I stood there, trembling. The weight of my failures, the crushing grip of guilt and shame, pressed down on me like a suffocating fog. My mind was filled with the echoes of my defeats, each one a reminder of my bondage. In the midst of that darkness, I heard his voice again. It was steady, full of compassion, and brimming with power. "You've lost to lust over and over again," Jesus said. "I know this has led to you feeling overwhelmed by guilt and shame. Rather than try and fail again, you've come to accept that you'll never win. You've stopped resisting. Instead, you've embraced it. But I want you to know something, Melania. Just as you've been trapped in a cycle of failure, there is a cycle of victory that can set you free. It begins with me." His words pierced through the darkness like a beacon of light. Suddenly, the vision shifted. No longer was I bound by chains, crushed under the weight of my failures. I saw myself standing in a field bathed in golden light, free and unshackled. Joy radiated from me, and peace flowed like a river. The contrast was stark, a vision of redemption, of what could be if I surrendered to him. Jesus spoke again, his voice steady and reassuring. "Seek first my heart. Always remember that despite your failures, I still have a heart for you. I desire to bless you." I felt tears stream down my face as his words took root in my heart. This wasn't condemnation. It was hope. It was a way forward. It was freedom. "Let gratitude fill the void that lust tries to occupy," Jesus said. "When temptation comes," he continued, "don't focus on stopping it. Instead, thank me for what I have done for you. When you develop gratitude, you'll see that what lust desires to offer, you no longer need." Use scripture. Find verses that speak to your struggle. Speak them out loud when you feel weak. Let them be your sword in the battle. His tone grew firm yet loving. "You've been fighting alone, and that's why you've been falling. Bring this to the light. Find a trusted friend, mentor, or spiritual leader. Share your struggle. Pray together. Expose the darkness. My light exposes and breaks the power of sin. Don't let shame keep you in isolation. And above all," Jesus said, "embrace my gospel. I died to save you. Your good works and victories over lust don't save you. I do. Be okay with losing battles, because I've already won the war. When you fall again and sin happens again, remember my gospel. Come back to me. Repeat the process. My grace is sufficient for you." His words were like a balm to my soul. This wasn't about perfection, but about persistence. It wasn't about earning his love, but living in it. As the vision faded, I felt a renewed strength rise within me. This was more than a battle against lust. This was a journey into deeper intimacy with Jesus. The chains were breaking, not because of my efforts, but because of his power. What are you holding on to in the dark? Are you allowing it to build walls between you and God? You don't have to stay in the shadows. Jesus is waiting to set you free. Take the first step today. Surrender it all to him. You don't have to fight alone.